Hi guys, my name's Bex and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be rating for you all 19 movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I asked out on Instagram what some of my followers would like me to do on my channel because I was lacking some creativity as of recently. And the beautiful Abby from Abby Lisi the Book Lover suggested that I rate all the movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that's what I'm going to do for you guys today. I'm going to be rating all 19 movies, which includes Avengers Infinity War, and I'm going to basically be telling you what my favourites are or why they aren't my favourite. So let's get started. I'm going to be rating these from 19 all the way up to 1 starting at my least favourite. I'm really excited to share this one for you guys because, as you know, I am a huge Marvel fan. I love the MCU and I was really excited to go see Infinity War recently. And yeah, I'm excited to rank that one for you guys because I think it's going to be really interesting where everyone thinks Infinity War fits in their ranking system. But without further ado, number 19 on my list is The Incredible Hulk. Now this movie released, I believe, in 2008 and I only ever watched it once. I think it was forgettable, I didn't think it was really that good, and it didn't meet the standard that Iron Man had set because Iron Man is obviously the OG of the MCU and obviously set quite a high standard, and I just don't think The Incredible Hulk reached it. It also doesn't have the amazing Mark Ruffalo playing Hulk. It has someone completely different which doesn't really fit into the cinematic universe's scheme, but I don't really enjoy it. Number 18 on the list is Iron Man 2. Now, this one released quite quickly after Iron Man 1 and I did not like it. Again, it didn't hit the high bar that was set by Iron Man 1 and I just didn't love it. It also took me ages to get used to the change in Rhodey's character from who he was in Iron Man 1 to who he is in Iron Man 2. He now plays him, which is Don Cheadle. I really liked who played him first. It's really painful to see it change. Even though I love Don Cheadle now, I really struggled with Iron Man 2 and I did not rewatch this one. Number 17 on my list is Captain America: The First Avenger. Yeah, it was a hard one to watch because I think they hadn't got so good at the CGI at that point. So the Red Skull, who is our villain in The First Avenger, didn't look very good. Also, the transition of our wonderful Captain America from the small one to the big one didn't make sense CGI wise, and it just wasn't really good quality, which is what I look for in movies, is the quality. And it did come out ages ago and their CGI has got much better, but I didn't really enjoy this watching experience as much as I did some of the others in the MCU. Number 16 on my list is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I know some people are gonna hate that it is so low on my list, but I did not like this movie. I think there was no plot at all. And it was really character focused, but not very good. It wasn't very well done. Because Guardians of the Galaxy was so good. When Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 came out, you expected it to be as great, but it suffered from the second movie syndrome and it wasn't nearly the quality of Marvel that I was expecting. Number 15 on my list is Thor: The Dark World. Now, although I still enjoyed this movie, from here on up I enjoyed all of the movies. They just didn't hit certain marks. And Thor: The Dark World definitely didn't do it for me. It was ultimately forgettable, and when you originally watch it, I didn't really see the links to the ether and stuff like that, and I didn't really care. Number 14 on my list is another controversial one, and that is Captain America: Civil War. Now, the reason this one is so low for me is because I do not like when the superheroes fight each other. Same reason I don't like Batman vs Superman. I think it's stupid that the powerful beings decide, oh, let's just fight amongst ourselves, rather than look at the bigger picture. I did like the addition to characters, like I did like seeing Black Panther, and I did like seeing these characters evolve, and I did like seeing them all come together, but they were fighting each other, and I hate movies that pit the heroes against each other just for a storyline. So yeah, that's a no from me. Number 13 on this list is Ant-Man, and again, another one that just I didn't care about, and I wish I did. I think Paul Rudd, who plays Ant-Man, is very good, and I enjoyed his character in Civil War, and I think he is gonna go so many different places in the MCU, and I'm excited for his next movie to come out as well. I did not connect to the characters like I thought I would, and I didn't really care as much about the story. I didn't really care for the villain, and yeah, it kind of was just a bit for me, because we're getting to some of the movies. They're not horrific, and they're entertaining, but they're just not they're not as good as some others. Number 12 on my list. I'm gonna get killed for, and it is Spider-Man Homecoming. I enjoyed this movie, don't get me wrong. We're getting up the list now, but I felt Spider-Man Homecoming felt too young for me. It was a younger Spider-Man, which was awesome, but it's harder to relate to the characters that are significantly younger than you. I think Tom Holland did a great job being Spider-Man, and I think he is one of my favourite Spider-Mans, of course, because we have multiple. And I loved Zendaya's character, and I loved his best friend. But I just couldn't connect. Like, I haven't been in school for about 10 years, and I find it harder to relate to those characters. But I still really liked it. It wasn't a bad movie at all, and I think Spider-Man's got a lot of growing to do, and I can't wait to see it. Number 11 is Iron Man 3. Now, I didn't hate Iron Man 3. I hear a lot of people disliking Iron Man 3, and I definitely didn't hate it. I think it was a good addition to the MCU. I enjoyed seeing how Iron Man evolved, and I loved seeing Pepper, and I think the characters were really, really good. Although the story didn't really play a part in the bigger scheme of setting up Endgame of the MCU, I still really enjoyed it. I think the plotline was good enough. I watched it for the characters. I love Tony Stark's character, so I'll absolutely watch anything with Robert Downey Jr. in it. But it was a good movie. It just wasn't the best. Number 10 on my list is The Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I'm not a massive fan of The Guardians of the Galaxy. I know a lot of people are and loved the first movie, and I enjoyed the first movie. I loved Star-Lord's character and how much he loved the music, and that was always playing, and there was a dance-off, and it was really, really cool and felt like something fresh for the MCU. It kind of brought together a different genre of the MCU where it was a lot funnier and funner to watch. Obviously more colourful. The characters don't really... I like Star-Lord, I like Gamora, I like Groot, but I'm just kind of a little bit about their little gang, to be honest. With the disappointment that was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I just don't see myself falling in love with all of these characters like I do the other characters. Number 9 on my list is Thor, the original Thor, which I loved so much when I watched it. I loved the humour that was added. I love Chris Hemsworth. He's a fellow Aussie, and us Aussies have got to stick together. I liked the development of the characters. I really, really did. I liked Thor, and I liked the way Chris played Thor. I, of course, loved Loki in this. Loki's one of my favorites, and I like to see bring in the Norse mythology into the MCU, and yeah, it was really, really exciting for me to watch Thor originally. Number 8 on my list is The Avengers Age of Ultron. That unfortunately disappointed me a little bit more than I thought it would. I loved the new characters, don't get me wrong. I loved Quicksilver, and I loved Scarlet Witch, and I loved Vision. However, it took a darker turn. I feel like Age of Ultron, it got a little bit more. You could start seeing the Civil War aspects play in when they start more fighting within each other and breaking that down. But it just wasn't up there at my favorites. I think the villain was good. I think the actor who played the villain was really good. He was amazing and creepy all at the same time. This one just didn't give me the excitement that I wanted. But I do love it for what it was and for the additional characters that it added in for our MCU. Number 7 on my list is Doctor Strange. I didn't know how I felt about Doctor Strange because I hadn't watched much of Benedict Cumberbatch's work. But when I watched this one, I had a newfound appreciation for him as an actor, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think this was one where the plot really stepped it up for me, and I really, really enjoyed the more magic aspects that they brought into the MCU. Kind of stepped away from what we'd expected from the MCU into magic, which I really, really loved. Number 6 on my list is, of course, the OG of the MCU. It was Iron Man. Iron Man has such a special place in my heart because I loved watching this when I was young. I used to watch it with my dad, and we really loved superheroes, and I loved the origin story. Iron Man, that, through everything that happened to him, he made something really, really special. Wasn't afraid to fight against what he thought was wrong with his company, which I loved. I could not have put this one any lower on my list. I get so much enjoyment even watching it now. It set the bar very, very high for Marvel, and some of the movies they produced afterwards just didn't hit that height, and I think really disappointed viewers, but this one definitely didn't. It started off the whole thing, and I'm so, so grateful, and I loved it very much. I love Tony's character. He is by far still one of my favorites. He's the godfather of Marvel, and if something happens to him, shit's gonna get real. Number 5 is The Avengers. This is the movie that brought together all of our favorite characters. Thor, Black Widow, Iron Man, Hulk, Hawkeye, and of course our big bad villain, which was Loki. I loved this movie. This team up brought me so much joy, and I remember watching it over and over and over again, because this is the collaboration that I love to see, and why I still love Marvel is to seeing all these characters interact. It's absolutely phenomenal. And the Avengers started it all. Everything was just so good. I really enjoyed it. It was made a few years ago, but it still stands up with the amount of CGI and stuff. It was still brilliant, and a really good start to all the Avengers films to come. Number 4 on my list is the one you've been waiting for. The Avengers Infinity War. This is where I place the Avengers Infinity War. Quite high up on my list, yes, but also still not the top Marvel movie in my opinion. I enjoyed Infinity War. Infinity War broke my heart, I'm not gonna lie. There were multiple tears shed, and it's not a movie that you finish and walk out going, oh yeah, it was good. You're just sitting there like, what the fuck just happened? And I still feel like that. I won't go rewatch it in cinemas because I don't think I can until May next year when the next one comes out, and then I can prep. But right now, I don't think my heart can take to rewatch it. It was really good. I really enjoyed seeing all the characters interact, which is what I've been waiting for years. That's my favorite part of Marvel's watching them interact. I was waiting for this collaboration, and it was finally here. I really enjoyed the different characters that we come together. I really enjoyed seeing them together, and I really enjoyed the journey that we took. Infinity War is more told from Thanos' point of view than anyone else's. We still get our looks in at everybody else, of course, but it's telling Thanos' story. As much as I don't know where the next one will go, I'm excited to see it, and I really enjoyed the watching experience that was Avengers Infinity War. Number 3 on my list is, of course, Black Panther. I loved Black Panther. I went and saw this multiple times in theaters because I just couldn't help myself. I really loved the characters. As soon as I finished watching Civil War, I needed to know more about T'Challa. He was such an intriguing character, and I really wanted to know more of his backstory, and this is what brought in the backstory. I loved seeing that. I loved how they did Wakanda, and I loved how we saw how advanced their technology was, and it didn't seem stupid. It seemed realistic, and I really enjoyed it. Shuri, my Disney princess, she was one of the best things that came out of this movie. I loved seeing her character. I loved seeing her character dynamic with T'Challa, and I'm so glad we got to see this character. A smart female who could hold her own on a battlefield. I absolutely loved it. Dora Milaje, who are also amazing, and Okoye. I loved the badass females in this movie. You know, yes, it did around a badass male, but the females in this just held their own, and I absolutely loved it. And don't get me wrong, I loved T'Challa too. Like, he is the king, like Wakanda forever. But everything about this movie was amazing. I can't even. Number 2 on my list, we are getting so high up, guys. My second favorite movie of all time was Thor Ragnarok. Oh my goodness, I loved Thor Ragnarok. Now, I loved Thor Ragnarok for the humor. I think it brought something different to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was just the funniest movie. Everyone in the theater was laughing. I went on one of the opening night, and it was just, everybody was laughing. There was not someone that was sitting there like, this isn't funny. It was funny, it was entertaining, it had a great storyline. The characters were so good. Of course, we got to see Thor and Loki and the Hulk, but we also got to look in some other characters like Valkyrie, which I hope we get to see again. And my favorite character of all time in this one, Korg. Because if you're an Australian like me, we live quite close to the Kiwis. Korg was this big rock monster with this high-pitched Kiwi accent, and I couldn't take him seriously because I just thought of my friends, and I just laughed the whole time. It was just brilliant. It was a masterpiece, and the director is phenomenal for creating this bright, vibrant, funny movie that I just couldn't get enough of. I really couldn't. It was really good. And last but not least, my number 1 favorite movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Captain America: Winter Soldier. Oh, this one, I think for me was the peak where Marvel stepped it up. You know, Captain America the First Avenger was a little bit but I feel like Captain America in this movie stepped it up to where Marvel movies had to be, and this was where they started raising their game, and all of the movies from there just started hitting new peaks and getting just so much more hype. If you do not know, Steve Rogers is one of my favourite characters in the MCU. I love him. I think he is loyal and patriotic and just a fantastic character, and especially in Winter Soldier. I love that they get to take on Hydra. I love that he teams up with Black Widow, and I loved the villain in this one because it meant Bucky Barnes came back into the MCU, and Sebastian Stan, everybody. My girl Erina would agree with me that Sebastian Stan is just beautiful, and I loved the conflict Bucky coming back into it gave to Steve's character. It gave him dynamic, and he wasn't just the good guy, because he saw his best friend who he would do anything for, and it was just so good. This is still by far one of my favorites. I rewatch this one all the time. I love Captain America Winter Soldier, and I think this is where, for me, I became really invested in the characters and the MCU, because this was just one of my absolute faves. And I think that's where I'll leave it, guys. I think I probably surprised some of you on where my list went, but I hope you enjoyed watching this anyway. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more and have not already, and chat to me down in the comments. Let me know, of course, your order and what's your favourite movie MCU. I would love to know and discuss superhero-y goodness with you. I make videos every Monday and Thursday, and I'll see you in a new one. Bye!